Good morning, good afternoon, midday. Thank you. My name is Tricia Westman. I am the Director of the Science and Research Branch with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry, or Ministry of Natural Resources. Thank you very much for joining us here today. And we have an exciting announcement from our Associate Minister, Kevin Holland, who is the Associate Minister of Forest and Forest Products. So I would like to pass the microphone to him. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Tricia, and welcome everybody. It's really great to be back here in Sault Ste. Marie and to have the opportunity to come and visit you here at the Forest Research Institute. I want to thank you for hosting us today for today's announcement. And it's always so encouraging to see natural resources innovation in action, especially when it highlights the collaboration and expertise of ministry staff and industry working together to support Ontario's forest sector, which is a vital economic driver of growth and prosperity all across our province. Now, forestry generates close to $21 billion in business revenue, and close to 155,000 workers depend on the good-paying jobs it provides, many of which are in Indigenous, rural, and northern communities. Simply put, forestry built Ontario. Protecting it and ensuring it can continue to grow and compete is a top priority for our government. That's why just a few weeks ago, we released a roadmap to protecting Ontario's forestry sector. The roadmap is a 10-year path forward with a clear 2-, 5-, and 10-year goals designed to safeguard the future of forestry in the face of global uncertainty, trade pressures, and a rapidly evolving marketplace. It sets out 3 pillars of action to defend productivity, adapt in times of change, and grow Ontario's forest sector for generations to come. Guided by the roadmap, our government, under the leadership of Premier Ford, is building a stronger, more diversified forest sector. Since 2018, we have invested more than $355 million in key programs that have helped to modernize and expand the forest industry, helping to create jobs and foster innovation. Earlier this month, I was in Thunder Bay to announce a $5.5 million investment in a pilot project at Greenwater Technology to grow the commercial production of biofuel from forest biomass. And just last week, we announced a $10 million investment in a major modernization project to adapt Georgia Pacific Northwood's oriented strandboard anchor mill in Englehart. And here in Sault Ste. Marie, our government is delivering on another key commitment in our forestry roadmap, improving the quality and accessibility of forest data. Today, I am pleased to announce the province is investing more than $14 million over the next 2 years to continue modernizing its Forest Resources Inventory, or FRI. Forest Resource Inventory provides a detailed picture of Ontario's forests, covering nearly 500,000 square kilometers across the province. It tells us exactly what's in our forests, from the number of trees to key characteristics, including type, size, and age. This information is essential to supporting the forest industry. Providing highly accurate and timely information on wood supply will improve harvest planning and enable faster, data-driven decision-making, reducing operational burdens all across the sector. It will strengthen the competitiveness and resilience of Ontario's forest sector, helping businesses adapt and grow to meet the opportunities in emerging markets. By leveraging advanced technologies, we are reinforcing Ontario's leadership in sustainable forest management. As I have seen firsthand today, compiling that information is highly technical and has come a long way, and I want to thank the team here for providing me the insight earlier, just before today's announcement. And it's great to see. I have to give a shout out to Dave from Thunder Bay as well. So, nearly 80 years ago, forest inventories were created using hand-drawn maps based on aerial photographs. That evolved into digital images, and fast forward to today and the use of LiDAR, a remote sensing technology that uses laser pulses to create very precise 3D images. The investment announced today will give our team precise information about forest structure and allowing us to track changes over time. The scale of this data is extraordinary. More than 3,700 terabytes collected to date, and I was educated how much a terabyte is. So To put that into perspective, that's more than 8 times the amount stored in NASA's Hubble Space Telescope data archive. It's truly amazing. And today's investment advances our capacity and technology that is needed to store, share, analyze, and transform this vast amount of forest data into practical, actionable insight. Reliable, timely data will strengthen long-term growth while reinforcing the sector's competitiveness and resilience in the face of ongoing challenges. Our government is committed to protecting workers and communities by addressing these hurdles head-on. That is why, in parallel with this announcement today, the Ministry also recently consulted on improving the efficiency and effectiveness of forest management planning and will be updating its forestry guidelines. In addition, consultation is now underway to improve our forest manuals to allow for a single plan for multiple management units and support the tracking of wood, making forest management planning more efficient while continuing to ensure sustainability. By investing in science and technology and streamlining our regulatory environment, we are reinforcing our commitment to protecting Ontario's forest sector and strengthening our position as a world leader in renewable and responsible forest management. Our forest sector has a long and proud history in our province. It helped build this province. Our government is making the strategic investments needed to ensure the sustainability and growth of the sector for the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Associate Minister. So as we've learned, it's an exciting time for the Forest Resources Inventory Program with the Ministry. And to put it into some industry context, I wanted to share some thoughts. This inventory is fundamental to the success and sustainability of forest industry in Ontario. And as the Associate Minister shared, LiDAR-based inventories provide a really rich spatial story of our forests, where they are, how old they are, what species they contain, and how they changed with time. And this information is used by industry on multiple levels. Operationally, inventories help industry map out road locations, identify areas of concern, and plan silviculture treatments. And then on a strategic level, the inventories are used to develop harvest schedules that balance multiple objectives from economic prosperity to habitat protection. Forest industry relies on this inventory data to decide where and when to harvest, how much timber is available, and what products can be produced. And accurate data helps avoid risk of over-harvesting, underutilizing resources, and reduces inefficiencies leading to higher costs. Ontario depends on a continuous supply of healthy forests, and the inventory data helps plan harvesting within sustainable limits, plan for regeneration, and monitor forest health for impacts from pests, fire, and climate change. So in addition to the benefits of the rich inventory data, I also wanted to touch on the investment that Ontario is making in the technology used to house and share this information. And that is enabling better coordination between industry, government, and our technical partners and local communities as we collaboratively use this data to make decisions. Forest resources inventory is more than just data to the ministry, the forest sector, and our partners. It is the foundation for a resilient forest industry. It's my pleasure to now introduce one of our key partners in this endeavor, Ian Dunn, President and CEO of the Ontario Forest Industry Association.
So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ian Dunn. I'm the President and CEO of the Ontario Forest Industries Association. I represent 55 member companies in the province of Ontario, companies that manage public forests on behalf of the people of Ontario, and companies that make forest products, so lumber, pulp, paper, engineered wood products, and energy. And it's my honor to once again be standing beside Associate Minister Kevin Holland in support of today's announcement. Ontario has 40 million hectares of productive, publicly owned forests. About 28 million of that are within the managed forest zone. Forests are quite literally Ontario's biggest asset. And before any management decision is made, foresters, forest managers, they need data. And this is done through the forest resource inventory system that we have. Inventory really is the foundation of the entire sustainable forest management system and framework that we have here in Ontario, understanding forest structure, species and ages, and essential to where we want to make or see our forests go into the future. The management of wildlife habitat, the impacts of natural disturbances like fire, insect outbreaks, and disease, monitoring previously harvested areas and renewal, and critical business and investment decisions by forest companies and mills depend on the quality, accuracy, precision, and availability of this data. Through the collection of Crown dues, our members have made massive investment in partnership with the ministry to improve and modernize Ontario's forest resource inventory for the benefit of all Ontarians. There have been many eras of Ontario's forest inventory, actually stretching all the way back to the 1700s, where the Crown began mapping stands of white pine timber for the British Navy to supply them with masts, to earlier aerial photography beginning in the 1920s, to the current era of digital transformation and the integration of LiDAR technology and data. As we approach the next round of forest management planning in Ontario, the need for the most up-to-date, cutting-edge data has never been greater. And today's announcement is intended to secure this future, ensuring forest managers have the tools needed to continue Ontario's commitment to forest sustainability and maintain the incredible high-quality forest resource that we have in the province, and which is so critical to our industry. So congratulations again to the ministry, to Associate Minister Holland on today's announcement, and once again, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Ian. I would like to introduce next another one of our partners, technical partner, that is. So Robert Wood, who is a data architect from Microsoft, is here to share a few words about his journey with us in developing the technology that is the foundation for the inventory system. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. First, I'll tell you a little bit about me. I am an architect at Microsoft. I work for Microsoft Canada, and I had the good fortune a few years ago to get an opportunity to work with the FRI and the government to find out, how we could kind of optimize how we manage sustainable forests, how we manage this forest inventory. At the time, LiDAR acquisition was the decision to make. As mentioned, that LiDAR data is fairly large. And so we needed to find safe ways of storing that data for long periods of time and making that data accessible to others. So sharing this information with the industry was kind of a key goal for us, and we wanted to make sure that we had ways of collaborating, both with the industry, both with researchers who are also focusing on forestry information, as well as, in some cases, we had to work with vendors and various other parties and ministries in order to make this data available for many other purposes. It's been a pleasure to work with the FRI team in terms of understanding the data science work that's been going on. And at Microsoft, we got involved to try to see if we could take some of that science, those core metrics, calculations, processes that were in place, and how we could scale them up. When we're faced with petabytes of data, it does take some scale of compute to be able to meet the need, and that's really where Microsoft came in. As you know, Microsoft does have a cloud up here in Canada, and so we use the Azure cloud in order to sort of facilitate the storage, as well as provide the compute in order to produce all these insights for industry and for others to use. We did start a few years ago, as mentioned, and so the acquisition of the LiDAR was step one. We also worked with the field program, and the field program is for those who go out into the forest and measure trees. There's an awful lot of data that's been gathered on the actual growth, soils, trees, vegetation, understory, lots of metrics have gathered. And so we did some app innovation around how do we actually collect this data in the field. There are very interesting aspects to collating data in the field when you're disconnected from the internet, and it's cold out and it's wet out and you're in all sorts of different access conditions. And so we tried to make sure that we could provide a solution that would work well with the FRI team and the vendors that are involved in some of this collection. As we took that data from the field and the LiDAR, we of course needed to do immense amount of processing. And so we used a lot of the kind of the scale of the cloud, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with, in order to sort of do that kinds of processing. And we produced many derivative products, and there was mention here about all the sorts of wonderful data science outputs that's produced by the FRI team. And Microsoft's role is primarily just to support from an infrastructure perspective. We wanted to make sure that all this information was available for parties to be able to consume, and I mentioned all those parties before. We did find, as part of this process, we needed to collaborate more. And so one of the areas that Microsoft focused on was building something called the Partner Portal, which is our way of providing secure access to data that we share specifically with the industry and other industry partners and research partners. We do have a public data set as well, but there is some data that's kind of more specific and tailored for the industry. And we share that with the Partner Portal, and that's a product that we built together with the FRI team. I think really the exciting stuff is what's to come. We've done this wonderful job of acquiring all this data, and now we're trying to see how we can best put this data to work. The vast scale of the data is perhaps beyond sort of mere mortals to be able to process and analyze, but there's been so much insights onto what is important in the data, what are the identifiers, what are the triggers, what are the processes and workflows. And we're sort of looking for things like machine learning and AI to figure out how can we start to really take some of those practices and kind of scale them up. We're not replacing people, but we want to make sure that we can optimize the workflow, because there's important work that's done by the photo interpretive team, the disturbance modeling and the analysis, and we want to see if we can kind of optimize that workflow as much as possible. And so in closing, I'd like to thank the FRI team for a wonderful opportunity to work on these projects together. I know we've got some more things in the roadmap ahead of us, and with that, I'll say thank you and maybe hand it back to Trish. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Associate Minister. I think the number of people that have been involved in making this announcement really does speak to the collaborative nature that it takes to take, as Rob indicated, a bold step forward and really prime forestry for an exciting future. So thank you very much for doing this together with us. And at this time, this concludes the formal part of our event, and thank you everyone for attending. And for media, I'm going to turn the mic over to the Associate Minister for questions. Thank you. Any questions?
Sure, question. Scrub.
That's fine. Okay. Oh, we're good. Yep.
Oh. Okay. Did you want to bite by the mic, or are you okay? Okay.
How does technology impact the full-free staff? Additions, subtractions, new training?
So, sure, I think that would be a question better for you, the technical on the staffing levels with the...
Thank you. This investment, I feel like if you cast your eyes on the look on Dave Morris's face, who's a research scientist here with the ministry, the investment in this technology is truly exciting. So it really opens up new avenues, not only, as you mentioned, for the skills that our staff can use as we start to learn more about the data and understand how to use this new information to drive, better forestry in Ontario. And it also expands the type of work that we can do in a more optimized way. So maybe previously where Dave, I'm using you as an example again, as a research scientist, to get really good information, it required a lot of field work to go out into the forest and really see what was happening on the landscape. And with inventory data of this richness, we still need to go out into the field to ground truth it. But the amount of thinking now that we can do and studying of the forest with a richer data set and much less time-consuming way with less bugs and all the field excitement, it's much better. So I think the staff of the ministry are very excited. It is not taking anything away from the work that we're doing, and it is really opening up new doors to the future.
I think the exciting part about this, and we were talking about it earlier before today's announcement when I was talking with Dave and the rest of the team, is the evolution of the information that's going to be developed with this new technology is endless. And I think the potential that it's opening up, not just in forestry, but for our natural resources sector in general, is really exciting. So.
I'm Ian Ross from Northern Ontario Business.
Hi, Ian.
With this new forest inventory, the technology that we play, what's more to learn about the health and condition of the forest?
Yeah, so with this technology, and Trish, you can feel free to jump in after, it's giving us the better analysis of the forest inventory that's out in the field and in our forests. It's, as Trish has indicated and the team educated to me, it's about taking the data that they've done in being out in the field and compiling that data and working it in with the LiDAR technology so that they can do a better job in really identifying the age, the species, the condition. It can do the forest biomass that's on the ground. It can address some of the fire loads in certain areas that can help communities plan better for fire management plans. So it's really enhancing and bringing all the technology and all the research that has been done together and developing a model that's really going to benefit not just the forestry sector. I mean, that's where our focus is on here to help our forestry industry, but it goes well beyond that. So it's an exciting time. Is there anything you want to add? Or?
I can add. Yeah, just to build on that, when we think about forest health, we're thinking about it in a very complex environment. So many times when you are thinking about science on paper, you're looking for a direct cause and effect relationship. Spruce budworm has arrived, it's doing something to the forest, and then we see an effect from it. And one of the really exciting things about having very rich data is we can start to look at different disturbance events together and see the intercorrelation between events and look for trends. And that is really powerful because it helps us understand the dynamic environment of the forest on a much different level to see, are there linkages between pest activity and forest fires? How are those things correlated? And to study those, the better data that we have to understand the structure of the forest and how things change over time, we can start to make linkages across these different sort of plot points in the story of forest health. So it's very exciting. Thanks.
And for Reed and Dunn, how can industry use this information for new products in the mix, new markets, to attract investment? How can your members use it?
There's probably two elements to that. First of all, the marketplace demands a sustainably sourced product. And in order for our member companies to demonstrate that to the marketplace, they have to demonstrate using data that they are sustainably managing the forest. And without this kind of information, it's impossible to do. So it really is foundational. For maybe attracting investment, each type of product requires a certain type of tree species and quality. And with LiDAR, we're much better equipped at finding those types of trees and that type of material out there on the land base, and also building road networks in a way that reduces costs to the industry. So I think it's the combination of those two that are going to really help drive investment and support our sector.
we got one up here.
So I had a question about how much of Ontario right now is mapped already, and what are the range of these LiDAR drones? Is it going to be newer technology with the LiDAR sensors to get the biomass kind of readings?
So right now, again, we had this conversation just before the meeting started, and what we've been focused on is mapping the managed forest section, managed forest in Ontario. We haven't gone into the unmanaged forest areas as of yet, but yeah. So the technology, as I mentioned earlier in my earlier comment, was it really provides them the ability to look at what that biomass is on the ground, what that fire load is, and map out the areas in the province where to assist the sector itself in determining where their forestry operations should take place within their managed forest license area. So. Okay.
I have really exciting news for you. It is available. So maybe just picking up on the earlier question. So we've finished acquiring the LiDAR data for the area of the managed forest, and that is, we have collected it, and that is sort of the initial building block of the inventories, and that is available for forest industry to use now. And then as we start to layer more information on top of that LiDAR data, it just enhances the data products that we can release and make available. And the first step, that acquisition of LiDAR, I just had heard the previous gentleman mention drones. It was done with fixed wing aircraft, and the sensors are attached to. We haven't moved to drone technology to acquire LiDAR at this stage.
Hi there, I'm Greg with Sear today. I believe it was Mr. Dunn that just said the marketplace demands a sustainably sourced product. Regarding markets, I'm just wondering, how will this vast quantity of data help you find new markets, or perhaps with that increased efficiency, create more jobs? What is the overall economic impact here, I guess, is my main question down the road from this?
So the data that's being compiled from this, from the LiDAR technology, is really mapping it out. The two biggest assets we have in the forestry sector in Ontario is the sustainable managed forests that we have. We're recognized the world over for our managed forest systems, and as well as the fiber content of the wood in Ontario is well sought after, well recognized and well sought after. So part of the technology and being able to determine the species, the age, the quality of the species in any given area is a tool that we can be using then as we go around and source out those new markets around the world with regards to what we can be producing and from a sustainable harvesting operations. And I think it really opens up a tremendous amount of opportunity for new markets, and as well as creating the efficiencies and the harvesting operations to make our products much more cost effective and more marketable in that respect. So Ian, I don't know if you want to add anything.
Yeah. I would say first and foremost, this program and this investment is about good forestry and good forestry practices. The forest industry will benefit from it, but it's not the most it's not the highest priority in terms of collecting this data, feeding into the forest management planning process, and getting ultimately timber to the mills. Ontario's forest management system, the ultimate objective is not producing timber for the mills. It's about balancing social, economic, and environmental values. It's about emulating natural disturbances. And as a result of that process, there is a sustainable yield of timber to the mills. And this program and this investment is really about supporting good forestry practices.
We're good to wrap it up.
So thanks again, everybody, for coming out, and thanks to the team here for hosting today's announcement. It's great, as I said, to be back in Sault Ste. Marie. I'm really excited by this technology and what we can do with this information. appreciate you educating me a little bit more on the process, and I'm looking forward to continuing those conversations moving forward. But thank you to everybody for coming. It's great to see everyone here, and I wish you all the best. Take care.